This crazy game.
What's going on out there, YouTube family? As you can see from the silhouette here, we have already done our spoiler-free game review for The Last of Us Part 2, and we are about to go deeper and deeper in this well of emotions of a game that I would consider probably one of the best games that I've played um, in years. I'm not going to rank it just yet because I still don't even know how I really feel about it. But introducing here, got myself and I got my man Ty. What's good, Ty?
What's going on, good people out there? How y'all doing? Coming at you again with another video with my man Sam off of Team JVS. What's cracking?
Another one. Just joking. All right, so we are about to go in very heavy spoiler territory. So if you guys have not played The Last of Us, or if you've not seen a walkthrough of The Last of Us, please go, leave, and then come back to this because we're about to kind of unravel as best we can all the different things that we felt that we really wanted to talk about, negative and positive. I think anything goes with this, tie. So anywhere you want to kind of put it, any indiscrepancy you have, anything you really feel like we should talk about, like I'll let you kind of guide it. I've got some keynote things that I really wanted to break into, but off the gate, I think it is important that we bring it up because I feel like that this played a big platform as to why people had preconceived notions about this game before it came out. Months before the game came out, maybe like 2 months before the game came out, leaks came out, and basically it spoiled three big elements. One, Joel died. Two, you would have to play as the character Abby. And then three, that, you had to just kind of sit with these emotions. And then certain details about the way that Joel died. It just got outed. And, Neil Druckmann definitely felt a way about it. A lot of different YouTubers that, even just talked about it, they got copyright strikes about it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've gone through different people's reviews and discussions and topics about it, but a lot of people were legitimately hurt and bewildered by the game, and they spread a lot of different negativity about the game before the game even came into ability to be able to play by consumers. And so a lot of people off rip were kind of like, yo, this can't be true. These, these leaks that came out, I don't believe them. And when they came to fruition, when the people were probably playing them, they were like, man, forget this game. I don't care about Abby. I can't believe you guys did that to Joel. And I didn't have that problem. Me and Ty, well, I don't know about Ty, but I didn't have the problem of knowing anything about the leaks. I didn't see anything. And so when
Neither did
everything
I.
happened, like, it just happened for me. Like, it was kind of like, yo, I just lost a family member. Daggone, like, I'm about to go ham on some people. Like, I don't know. I had an emotional reaction, but it wasn't like I knew that this was going to happen, and then I had to go through it again. I think that would definitely cause a lot of people to have a rift with their range of emotions within this game. Like, it's kind of hard to not hate on something before you have context behind it. And even when they had context, they'd already made up in their mind what this was going to actually be, I think. Do you have anything to comment on the leaks in that perspective, Ty?
So I I think you've actually covered the leaks as far as we should cover them. I mean, because we're doing a spoiler review, and although yes, there was the big controversy with the leaks and everything that went out, I fortunately didn't see any of them. So when we were both going through the game, um, which by the way, I started playing now. Now that I've seen it, and now that I've gone through it with you, I'm going through it myself
Nice.
because just to provide clarity, um, I did a recent move, so Sam got to start his game before I got to start my game, and then it just led to a daily couple of hours, just him going through it and me doing comments with him, watching, and basically seeing everything that he's seeing and having those same experiences. And to give credit to the game, there is this whole thing of seeing it versus playing it, and most people there is a bit of a difference. It's kind of like there's a thing of watching Uncharted versus playing Uncharted.
Yeah.
This game to me doesn't feel any different because now that I've played a few hours in the game, I literally feel no different. I literally feel exactly the way I felt. So prime example, because we're going to dig into it, but prime
Yeah.
example, let's talk of playing versus seeing. Seeing Joel's death and playing to Joel's death,
Mm.
I didn't feel any different. I still had that same shock and pain, even though I knew it was coming. It was like putting salt on that wound and reopening it for the shock value, and I still had that feeling, knowing it's coming, knowing she's about to kill Joel. But I think there's context to that I want to get into. I really don't want to dig more into the spoilers because there's not to the spoilers, but more so the leaks because there's so much negativity that came off of the leaks, and I know we want to go into the game itself, having seen it, having played it. So I want to do that. So
Yeah.
what I definitely want to do is start off with two things. One, of course, is Joel's death, but two, what led up to it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the thing for me was we're playing through the game. Typical stuff. Ellie's doing her patrols, no different. Then it switches off to Abby. And when we first saw it, it was like, who's this random chick?
Yeah.
Who are we playing as? Who is this girl? We have no idea. All we know is, and even then, when we didn't realize how brolic she was once once we got there. But we're just seeing this chick going through the snow, just in Jackson, trying to make her way through. There's people coming there's people, there's walkers and everything coming, and it's a whole big issue. And then she runs into Joel, and then Joel saves her. Joel and Tommy save her. Then we get to the lodge, and it all pops off. Then we find out who this person is, and it's like crazy. Same shock value.
Yeah. And just to add a little bit of extra context to that, when we were Abby, and Abby was, building ground when it came to like, it's evident like she had like something going on with this character Owen that she was kind of just up there with. You didn't understand what their relationship was. You could tell they had a thing, or maybe like they're in the middle of crossroads. But when Owen was like, "Yo, we should go back together," she was like, "No, I'll handle it by myself." I was like, why are you gonna sit there and let this man like why would you go out in an environment like this by yourself regardless of how tough you are? Now
Right.
when when we get to the gameplay for Abby and I start running for my life, I was terrified, and I mean it. Like I legit was kind of like this doesn't feel like a game. It feels like I'm legit running for my life. And like by the time I reach, Tommy and Joe, I was like, thank God. Like I was like, bruh, like I don't know. Like Ty was legit cheering me on. We got to the little the area, the airport area or whatever. And like I had no weapons. I literally was just trying to dodge and get out of the way so they could get me, out of there. And the buildup was just perfect because while that was happening simultaneously, you're getting like this transition phase where you got Ellie, and you get introduction to the character Dina. Now the thing about Dina is that there was like some implied things that kind of happened between them at this carnival moment, and like they may or not kissed, and like you can kind of tell there was some rifts there. But going into the gameplay elements, they immediately start playing with these kids in the snow and just start throwing snowballs. And you start to learn certain things in trainings about how to dodge, how to throw, how to maneuver. And I was like, that's just genius how naturally it kind of progressed to the point that they go off and decide to go and exploring. And like the storm picks up. And like I'm out there lost as Ellie, and I was like, yo,
Yep.
Dina's either dead or I'm about to die. And like I love that feeling of dread and this worry and concern about, you know, whoever you're playing. And I think that the building engine behind that, it led up to where we finally, like Ty said, getting to the point where the tables turn for Tommy and Joel, and Abby really presents herself for what she really wanted. This whole entire time, she's been searching for them. She's been looking for them. And we see in the flashbacks later on that the only reason why she stayed so intent on getting stronger and physically assertive is because she wanted an opportunity to take them down. It wasn't about survival. It was about hunting them down. Like, that's all she's wanted since the moment that her dad died. And it's like that build up to that moment. As us as consumers, we were just like, yo, who's this chick? Why are you going to sit there and take a golf club? Like, either shoot him, you know, or like kill Tommy. I can understand, but like, no, like she beat this man to death. And when it got to the point where me and Ty, I was like telling Ty, I was Ellie at this time. I was like, all right, me and Dina done our thing. We got to get back. I was like, yo, Ty, like I had to convince myself that this is just a game, because my head went, yo, that's my homie. I got to go up in there. Like, I got to rush up in there. This game plays on your anxieties like that. Like, it feeds into you wanting to do something or have an emotional reaction. And either one, you're not going to be able to focus, or two, you're going to be too compromised to do anything. Like, and I hate it, but I love it, because that's realism. That's real visceral realism. And when it got to the point where, you know, of course, Ellie got there, she was pinned down, and she was begging for them to stop. That's when everything switched and transitioned. Now, Ty, what is your comment on a lot of people from that point were just taken out of the game? A lot of people from that point, they just couldn't. They were either one so hurt, or they just did not want to maneuver past that point. I have some intimate conversations about that I'm gonna bring up later, but I was just curious, like, for you, how did it feel? And then what is your comment on people that moment really kind of, I guess, ruined the game for them, or their experience from that point?
So there are three things that come to mind for me with that. So first was, I'm a different kind of person. I'm the kind of person where you can drop a certain type of spoiler on me and I won't be bothered. Like you could have told me ahead of time, hey, by the way, did you know Darth Vader is Luke's father? And I'd be like, oh, word? But I still go see the movie and see it through. I'm a story-driven kind of guy, so I would have to see something through to the end to get the full story.
Yeah.
You know, that's one. Two, I'm glad I didn't see any of the leaks, because I think once it's set in people's mind how they feel about it, without any context, and they're concrete on it and they're not willing to budge, they're not going to get past those first 2 hours we did in the game. They just can't. Because they're already like, oh, well, here it is. He's about to die. You know, I'm pissed off. And we're going to be, you know, and I'm just done with it. I'm just throwing the sticks off to the side. I don't want to be bothered. But that leads to my second piece. We have a tendency to not only take things out of context, but allow others to use a clip of something or a piece of something and build a whole story around it. It's no different like when they talk about the media, they take one little clip of something and it sets people off and it drives people nuts. And then you realize, well, had you heard the whole thing, you might not feel the same way. And that's my thing. Don't let the leaks or the clips, drive you away from missing out on what I believe is one of the best games to ever grace a PlayStation 4 or PS4 Pro. Like, this is, and I'm going to get into the spoiler review later once we get down there, once we've gone through the game, but I'll say it here. This is the PlayStation swan song. This is how you go out and go into PS5 that's coming. This is how you do it. This is how you say, look, I'm at the top of the world. I made it. I'm signing off. Because the fact that they could pull these kind of graphics and this kind of gut-wrenching emotion and storyline and just bring it to you visually on a 7-year-old console, slightly younger if you're talking PlayStation Pro, PS4 Pro, but on a PlayStation console, the fact that they could pull it out of that after 7 years is just amazing. Yeah. So what I would say is, for any of the naysayers, any of the critics, any of the people that got the leaks and just didn't want to be bothered with it, I'm simply saying, play it all the way through. At least get the whole story, the whole speech. Don't just get the media clip. Don't get the link. Get the whole thing. And if you're still upset, because at the end of the day, I'll be honest, I was still upset that Joe died. Yeah. But I appreciated more out from, not just from, most people will take it from an anger perspective. I take it from the perspective of what Naughty Dog was trying to show you. Yeah. And we'll get to that point later on. But I appreciate his death more and believe in the story they were trying to tell. His death was necessary. Yeah. Because anyone else dying would not have had the same impact. Mm-hmm. It had to be someone so critical that everybody was invested in. So that's why I think it was necessary. Yeah. And so that's my thought about that particular scene while we trail on this journey. Yeah. Again.
This is going to be a very interesting discussion, and I think that I completely agree with Ty that a lot of people left the perception that Neil Druckmann did that to trigger people, to punish people, to abuse people's emotions. Now, it does definitely hurt and it does punish you, but that wasn't the intent. I think it was a deeper intent on the perspective of consequences, actions that come from love, that come from hate, and the road after that. Like, what is the means of reconciliation versus going through the fire already? Once you've already been burned, what does that really look like? And I think that every single character in this game deal with the consequences of their actions. Who they interact with, who they love, who they try to protect, and what that does to them and what that does to the people around them. I think that that's one of the most surrounding things of imagery in this game that no other game I've ever played ever had. But going and segueing from that is that after the point that Joel died, like, we go back to Ellie, and Ellie's deciding to, go and try to track them down. Tommy is definitely motivating her to do it as well. And I think that when I think back to it, I feel bad for Tommy because Tommy didn't die. Tommy didn't get beaten to death. Tommy just got knocked out, and his brother died right next to him. He didn't even get to see it. And so from a psychological standpoint, he has more hate in his heart probably than Ellie did at that time, and probably he'll ever have, because it'd be one thing if he saw it and maybe could have done something about it, or maybe he could have said, like, no, kill me instead, or kill us both. Like, he didn't even have an option. And that being ripped away is even deeper than, having your dad. Like, that's somebody you've known all your life. You know what I'm saying? And so I think thinking back in hindsight with that, I understand how Tommy got to where he gets by the end of it, which is half a face gone, no marriage anymore, and just, like, comes across as the worst malice thing to Ellie in pushing her to go and do something that I thought was just unsensible. But the reason why I brought this up is because after that point, this is the hard part for everybody that's a normal consumer, is that you are to play as Abby. And I can't fault people for feeling a way about that. I can't. Because if you've invested for the past 7 years plus, you know, in Joel as a character, some people were like, yo, like, could y'all have not just killed Joel later on? Like, could y'all not made this like a more linear storyline without so many flashbacks? I honestly say to the flashbacks, if they would have made it linear and the whole entire time you're playing as Abby in the beginning, and then you lead all the way up to that point, I don't think it would have had the same exact effect. Matter of fact, I don't think people would have been as invested if it would have, you know, been completely linear. Like, you go and you have all this story progressing leading up to Joel's death, then go and play in all the progression. I don't think it would have naturally progressively worked. But to people's credit, they said that when they started playing as Abby, like, F Abby. I don't care about Abby. Like, most people that I've listened to their reviews, they said that, man, it was such a drag. Man, I didn't stand it. Because, to be honest, like, we went through, what, 3 or 4 days? At least two days, like, about a good 2 or 3 days where we were literally just Abby the entire time.
We been about 10 to 11 hours
at least.
Abby.
And
like, a good half of the game
it was surprising.
Is Abby.
It was really surprising. And so, if you went into the game already spoiled, already disliking this character Abby, and then like were made kind of like you had to kind of go through what she was going through during this and why she is what she is, if you lose investment in her or through the moments that you're with her or don't even care, bro, you lose half of the game. Technically, like, you lose your whole perception on what's the whole point of the game. And I can see why a lot of people would have problems with the storyline if they've already wrote off Abby as a character or anything that happens with her, because then that disincludes Owen as a character, that disincludes Liv as a character, that disincludes Yara, her sister, as a character, even though they are just as like, if you went and just started from where Abby goes out to try to find Owen, that could be a first Last of Us game if you've never learned or knew about Joel or Ellie. And nobody wants to admit that, but I'm saying it just so people can really kind of look at it from a different set of eyes. But for me personally, when I was forced to be Abby, I questioned it. Like, I was kind of like, what is it? What are y'all? What is really going on? I started trying to probe in my head. I was like, yo, what is her backstory? Like, why? How did she get to this point? And by the end of it, bro, I started questioning Ty. I was like, Ty, I thought Ellie had it bad, but Abby might have gotten it worse.
Like,
good.
So to put it in to kind of jump in right there, you know, Sam is trying to process, Sam is trying to think and get perspective on why we're playing as Abby. Me, I'm just riding the emotional story roller coaster. And at that point, I was like, man, we got to play as this chick. It better be quick. I want nothing to do with this broad. You know, man, bump her. She took out my man Joel. And this is somebody who hadn't even seen the leak. So I'm like, look, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this quick. Come on, Sam, let's get it done. Because I don't want to be bothered with this brolic-looking Amazon broad, you know. But then, as you start to see her interact with people, like he said, when you're going after, you know, Owen, and, you know, then, you know, even with, you know, her dogs, and then with, you know, with the WLF, and then, you know, dealing with Yara and Lev, and, you know, understanding why. I mean, the thing was, and the funny thing about it was, my moment for Abby changed the minute we met her father and realized who her father was. And honestly, after all of that, after seeing him help a zebra, first off, the simple fact that the wildlife in the game. You got African wildlife in Seattle. That shows you how much it's gone over the course of years in
Yeah.
terms of transition of animals and ecosystems because of this outbreak. And they're freeing this zebra and they're following it to make sure it's fine and it's taking care of their young. And then you understand that Abby's father was the doctor that was going to work on Ellie to have a cure. And once you meet her father, and once you see, and I'll be honest, I was a little iffy because when the lady came in, the other Firefly came in to talk to him and say, well, are you really ready to kill this girl to get this cure? And in my mind, I went back to Star Trek and the Leonard Nimoy statement. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Yeah. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, is one girl really worth, a cure for the entire planet? Is her life really worth that? And it was a good dynamic. But as soon as Joe answered that question and said no, her life is not worth being given to save the planet. And not only does he take her, but he kills Abby's father. My whole emotion just shifted from yo, forget anything about Abby to, you know what? Joel had it coming.
Yeah.
Just and the thing was, it just goes to, and that's why I feel the way I feel about how the leaks and everything are, because anybody who says that they're upset about Joel being killed off and still feel the same way after seeing Abby's story, even up to Abby's story about how her father died, and you still feel the same way, and you don't have an inkling in the back of your mind about, Joel probably had it coming. Like, if it was my dad, I might have been going after him too. Like, if you don't feel that way after seeing that, then you've missed the entire thing of the story. Like, there's absolutely nothing we can tell you. This spoiler review is not for you, because we're going through the dichotomy of different people's perspectives on a series of events that have brought them all together in a clash, in like a maelstrom. And you're getting to see all these perspectives. And I mean, it's just heart-wrenching. And if you can't see that, then the rest of this spoiler review honestly isn't for you, because you've already made up your mind and you are looking at this as a video game.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a video game, but this is more than just a video game. This is really an epic storytelling using video game technology. Like, they could have taken this movie, they could have taken this story and kind of shrunk it down to maybe like a trilogy and just put it on the movie screen, and you feel the same. Like, I don't think I would feel any different, because it's great storytelling.
Yeah. No.
But the point is that you start to even question going through this story, just following, letting the story take you along. You're going to start to question anything that you felt, anything that you feel is concrete. Joel being dead, Abby being wrong, Ellie, being Ellie, like, yo, go take this chick out. There's nowhere in this story that you don't start to question those things and be like, maybe not, you know. So that's how I feel about that particular piece.
Yeah, and to even add on to that, when both fathers made the decision, and I'm talking about Abby's father deciding to pursue and do this, Joe also took into consideration everybody else as well. And it was something about that human element that he had lost, that he just could not do it anymore. And maybe you could say it's selfish, or maybe you could say, like, he was like, no, this was the only decision I had to make. And he, later on, I mean, there was an amazing, beautiful sequence that he talked to her, and probably on the last scenes that you see of Joel, was that you know, if God gave me the opportunity of doing it all over again, I would in a heartbeat. And I was like, dang. But the thing is, when he made that decision, he knew he couldn't just sit there and take her out of there. He had to kill everybody around. He technically disbanded and destroyed the remaining forces of the Fireflies. The reason why those guys, and I went back and I re-looked at our
their structure
reaction.
Yeah.
I re-looked at our reaction to like when Joel died, and like some of them like Manny spit on him, and like some people were like, no, this or that, and even the girl, was it Nomi or Nora or whatever, that, you know, got tortured by Ellie. She was like, he deserved it. In their minds, he ruined what was left of an actual lasting civilization or hope, like for one person. And so for them, like they have just as much hate and malice for Joel as she does. It wasn't just they were getting round and around for her. Like, no, like Joel fundamentally destroyed the Fireflies. Now the sad thing is, and a lot of times, and this can actually go a little bit deeper, Joel taught Ellie everything she knows. And Ellie went down this road that honestly, if it was on the other side of the same foot, Joel would have done the same exact thing. And basically, initially, if you go back to the first game, like, Ellie loved the Fireflies. Ellie was behind the Fireflies. She technically was going off killing remaining members of the Fireflies that were now wolves. And when you think about it from that perspective, like, when Abby said, I let you live, and you killed all my friends, and you squandered it. And, like, I was kind of like, when I went back and, you know, started thinking about it, I was like, yo, not only did she really kill all her friends, like, she killed the last remaining Fireflies. Like, technically, Owen was a Firefly. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a vet. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was up in rank. And it's just a real harsh reality of where Joel's decision played this terrible ripple effect with all these people's lives. From the wolves being created in the way they are, from the way that Ellie is and way she ended up, and even like the relationships that surrounding Ellie. And so if you really didn't grasp, you know, Abby's background, think about the fact of where she actually came from, who she actually is as a Firefly, what that actually really represents. Not just her and her dad, but what her dad actually represented, what he was actually supposed to do, and what the group was supposed to do. It was all basically destroyed by Joel. And that's a real thought. And that's not to say that Joel is a bad person. Joel just made a choice. Everybody can make terrible choices. Everybody can make choices that are terrible that they think are for the greater good. It happens all throughout history. It happens, you know? So I think you have to reconcile that within your heart on certain levels. Go ahead.
So the funny thing about this, if we're gonna go down this path, so there's two things for me. So one, the statement that, what I love is the statement that Abby makes about, I let you live and you wasted it. It makes me think back to a scene with Peter Skarsgård and Antoine Fuqua's King Arthur, the one with Clive Owen and Keira Knightley, and they're taking out this village. The Sax, he's the head Saxon. They're coming to invade, and he tells his son, he tells the Saxons, burn it all, you know, kill every man, you know, kill everyone, burn it all. And he looks to his son and he tells him, never leave a man, woman, or child behind that can pick up a sword. So in that aspect of Abby's statement about, I let you live and you wasted it, my mind initially was, that's your fault, Abby. That's your fault. I mean, you weren't planning to kill anyone else. You were laser focused on Joel, so much so that you left his brother and Ellie behind
Yeah.
Um, because you had Joel and that was it.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that. You didn't have a beef with anyone else, but what you also needed to understand is they don't know your story.
Nope. They don't care either.
She doesn't understand that Ellie doesn't know her story. She also doesn't understand or know that after Joel finally confesses the truth about what he did, Ellie didn't want to be bothered with him either,
Nope.
you know. And when he finally told the truth to Tommy, it took Tommy back, but Tommy said, "Look, I'll take it with me to the grave. It's all good. I got you. You're my
Yeah.
brother." So at the end of the day, and this is why I want people to really go through the game. What you're not understanding is what they have us experiencing in The Last of Us Part 2 is what Joel experiences in The Last of Us Part 1, which is a change of perspective. Because remember, Joel didn't want any parts of Ellie.
None.
Joel didn't want to take Ellie across the country, to the Fireflies and all that. Joel just wanted, Joel got convinced and he lost basically the love of his life, or the person he was really interested in the part one.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: as we progress with Joel through the game, and he's with Ellie, he's developing this bond, and bonds are usually created through fire, through trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
It's trial by fire. And by the time he gets to the Fireflies, no pun intended, he's now at the point of saying, I spent all this time getting to know this girl. And now I have to remember that. Now you want me to remember that, she's got this cure and we have to get this cure. And no matter what, we have to get this cure. And if we don't, we're going to continue to live in this pandemic of the infected. Yeah. Now, this is what we go through in The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. We're going through this 10, 11-hour campaign with Abby, going through, her tension, with her tension and feelings for Owen, his girlfriend who's pregnant, the dogs, everything else, and even then dealing with Yara and Lev, and then having to go through the hospital. My God, all of that to the point of, losing Yara and trying to make their way to the remainder, which we'll get to, which is the remainder of the Fireflies, and getting captured. And even after all that, with Ellie coming to basically get her, but still she actually ends up rescuing her, to the point that now it's like, okay, wait a minute. We've literally gone through all of this. I've literally probably changed my mind about Abby a few times. And then I got to remember, this is still the chick that killed Joel.
Yeah.
And Ellie reminds us of that when she puts the knife to Lev's neck and says, hey, we're going to have this out. So that's why I always tell folks, look, don't worry about the leaks. You got to go through this story, because we're doing what Joel had to do in part one. Was, okay, we literally went through this whole thing and invested all these emotions, and yet we have to remember she killed Joel.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that?
Yeah. And I think the even more sad part about this, and me and Ty talked about a little bit of this when, we were talking about the possibility, like how this story was going to end. And I said to Ty, I was like, if Ellie kills Abby, she's going to have to be willing to kill Liv. Because whether you guys know it or not, like, Liv went through hell and back. Like, the first time we see Liv is when Abby gets basically strung up by the neck by this group of crazy individuals. And like she's like legit dying, and thankfully Yara goes and comes to her rescue and saves her. But Yara loses an arm in the worst possible way. And probably actually that moment in the game, that was one of the scariest moments I'd ever been in because we had nothing. We had no guns. We had no weapons. And the freaking silence infected came around. And they were just coming out wave after wave. I was like, bruh, Ellie didn't even have to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, from that point that they made it out alive, just to what Ty is saying, she developed not just a bond, but she had developed like this need to protect them. She initially went out before, unbeknownst to one of the main leaders, Isaac's recommendations, who played by Jeffrey Wright, did a great job. We'll get to the voice acting later, but he told her not to do it. She went out on her own, like with nothing. You know what I'm saying? Manny got her to the gate, but she went through hell and back to even get out there for Owen. And then she interacts with these girls, and like by the end of the game, like she really loves them. Like she really wanted to protect them. Liv wanted to go back and try to, find her mom. Tragedy befalls that. I'm not gonna go into all that. That was horrible. But then Yara sacrificed herself for actually Abby. Not even for Liv, because Isaac was about to kill Abby, and Yara killed Isaac, and from that point, Liv had nobody. Like we literally saw like a moment where I don't know. I think this is the moment when I actually lost my emotions. I said to Ty, I was like, "Look, if one of these girls die, bro, I'm killing everybody. Everybody can catch these hands. Anybody can catch a bullet." And sure enough, they put me in a situation where it was wolves to the left. It was skins to the right, and me and Liv killed anybody in sight. Like, I didn't even mean to rhyme, but it's true. Like, we legit, at a certain point, like, Liv had no one. Like, it was only Abby. And so, at the end of the game, like, I was like, bruh, this is going back to the same question that we talked about. And so, I presume a question to anybody that's watching this spoiler review. Say, hypothetically speaking, Ellie did kill Abby, right? And she let her go. It would be the same generational curse, bruh. It would be the same exact thing that Joel did, the same exact thing that Abby did, and it would have went a whole nother, and that's just mindless. Somebody had to break the cycle, bro. Somebody had to break the cycle. Either one, she would have had to kill Liv or let them both leave. And I think that ultimately, she definitely thought back to what Joe has said, like it never ends. Like he made this sentiment long down with one of the flashbacks or whatever. But the fact is that she was like, I gotta have some semblance of reconciliation with this. I have to let this go. Like I have to find some kind of forgiveness with this, because I have to be willing to not only have killed Abby, but I gotta go and kill this girl too. And I think it was just too much. Like, she just really couldn't do it. I think a lot of people just really don't get why Ellie let Abby live. It's deeper than just she making that conscious choice. She could have killed Abby, but she would have had to kill Liv as well. And she would have had to go down this road that, bruh, that's what Joel did. That's the same thing Joel did.
So, ironically, here's where Sam and I come up at a sort of an impasse. Not completely. We don't fully disagree. I agree with everything Sam just said. I'm just not a fan of how it all played out. And I'm not saying it wasn't justified, but my thought was, give Ellie a little something. Even if she doesn't kill Abby or kill Lev, I was hoping that she could have found her way back with Dina or something. Like the thing is that in the midst of all of this, even when Ellie has done something right, not right in terms of saving Abby, and definitely not right with putting the knife to Levy's neck to get Abby to fight her.
Yeah.
but having the upper hand and at the last moment understanding that if she does this, she's done nothing but perpetuate the cycle unless she also kills Lev, who she never has an issue with.
Yeah.
But if she leaves Lev, she knows Lev is going to come after her. So she understands that this has to stop.
Yeah.
She lets Abby go. But in the end, she loses everything. Like, when I say everything, like, okay, she went out seeking revenge. She never got it. She
Yeah.
went out to do this with Tommy. She never got that revenge. She lost Dina. Dina said, you walk out that door, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
I'm out. Dina leaves. But the thing that really hurts me is in the fight, Abby, in her struggle to survive, bites off two of Ellie's fingers.
Yep.
And it's the two fingers that she needs. Not that she doesn't need them all, she needs them all. But because of those two fingers now being gone, she can't play the guitar, which was her last true connection to Joel. And if you notice, the guitar that Joel gave her has that moth symbol on it. And it's that moth, that connection. He gave it to her because of that moth and that leaf she has covered over her forearm, which was the infectious bite that, she never turned, that she kept saying, I think was like a fire burn or something, or a chemical burn. Like, she loses everything because she never gets to reconcile with Joel. Yeah. She can never play the guitar, which is probably, out of all the things Joel has taught her, that was the one peaceful thing Joel taught her, where they can be pseudo father and daughter. Not, I'm teaching you how to survive, but I'm teaching you also how to live and move on past this. Mm-hmm. She loses that she just leaves she leaves everything, but mainly she leaves that guitar by the window. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get down to the line of this, of what we think this would be for the next game, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But the thing that really kind of infuriates me, yet I understand it, is that Abby kind of kicked off all of this in part 2, understanding that Joel did all this in part 1. But at least with everything that Abby went through and everything that Abby did, good, bad, or indifferent, Abby still has Lev, which is Abby's Ellie. Yeah. Abby now becoming Joel and Lev now becoming Ellie. She has that. She gets a somewhat happy ending because they make it to Catalina Island, where the Fireflies are regrouping.
Yep.
But Ellie is left with absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I know the point Naughty Dog was trying to make is that revenge has a cost, but after everything that both of these women have been through, I feel that Ellie got the short end of the stick because, while and some would argue, well, she had her happy ending. She had the barn, she had Dina, she had JJ. Yeah, but she also had PST, and she also had to suffer with the fact that she didn't kill. She didn't get justice for Joel.
Yeah.
And I think it was more so she didn't get justice for Joel, and she was more motivated because of the argument they had and the last thing she said to Joel. She never really reconciled with Joel after Joel confessed, so it was kind of like, after all this person did for her, after all this person did and saved her, she kind of disassociated herself with him so she never got anything, and I understand the point Naughty Dog is trying to make, but my argument is, if that's the case, Abby should have suffered much more. Like Abby suffered. That's true. She lost her potential love interest, even though he had another chick pregnant or what have you. She lost, Yara, who she went through literal hell to get the medical supplies she needed to save her. And I'm going to come back to that because that was my scariest moment.
Yeah.
But she keeps losing and losing and losing. But at the end of it all, she still gets a win. She gets to
So
escape with Lev, and she gets to Catalina. We don't even know what happened with Elle. Elle went back to the house. Dina followed up on her word, and the only room that's left with anything is Ellie's room and that guitar, and she can't even play it anymore. So that's kind of where me and Sam have an impasse, because if you're going to present the lesson that revenge is a dish best served cold and comes with a large drink of consequences,
it does.
Everybody got to suffer. Everybody got to drink it. And while both of them did drink it, Abby didn't get a full glass.
So
Abby got a taste.
so I got a whole. This is where this gets really interesting, you guys. So bear with this. Make sure this joint is still recording because we're going hard in the paint. So I got two real big things that me and Ty have not even talked about. I thought about this much later on. But the first thing I want to bring up is Joel, right? When Joel made a decision to protect and save Ellie and did it without her knowledge, without her choice, without her understanding, she said to him, I will go back to Jackson only because I gave you my word, but we are done. Joel had nothing left but Ellie. And so the symbolism behind it is the same exact consequence that actually happened to Ellie when it came to Dina. Technically, this whole entire time, up until they had the dance or the carnival moment where Ellie said to Joel, like, look, you took everything from me. You know, like, you took my choice. And like Joel said, you know, I would do it all over again. But I wish you would forgive me. And she said that I want to try. That was the first time he had any kind of semblance of something. Like, because she had disconnected herself from him. Like, granted, she was alive, but he still lost her. It's the same exact thing that's going on with Ellie. Like, Ellie technically didn't physically lose, you know, Dina to death, but she lost her. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm saying is that Joel has been in this place alone. The sad fact of the reality is that this is the same exact thing that transferred over to Ellie based on the same exact kind of reasonings and execution that Joel did. And that's the sad reality of it, because one of the things, if you played the Left Behind series, when Ellie was talking to her best friend before her best friend died, her best friend asked her, what do you fear? What is your worst fear? And Ellie's worst fear is to be alone. That is her worst fear, and that's exactly what happened. Then the second thing I wanted to bring up is this impasse part where at the end, we're talking about, you know, like Ellie made this conscientious decision of forgiveness. And I think it ties back to that this is what Joel just was hoping for. You know what I'm saying? Like this moment to be able to have the possibility of forgiveness. And I think that she remembered back to that for sure. But the thing that I'm going to say, and this is not to rag on Ellie, so don't take it as though I hate Ellie or anything like that. I love Ellie. I think that everything she went through, I understand in every way, shape, or form. And it wasn't like she was getting like pleasure out of killing all these different people, but she still did it. Like, she killed so many different people, and she definitely killed a pregnant person. She definitely killed Owen in cold blood. She definitely killed innocent people. When you ask yourself whether you care about Abby or not, outside of Joel, who did Abby kill of innocence? She didn't, bro. She didn't kill anybody innocent. Yeah. She had the opportunity, honestly, for real, taking Isaac out. She had the opportunity of killing, like, certain people to get the way she needed to go. But she actually, for real, went through hell and back for anyone and everyone that asked her. Because that was the kind of person her dad made her to be. Regardless of his own demise, you know, her dad told her, like, you got to forgive. Now, granted, I think that moment at the theater, if Liv hadn't have been there, she would have killed Ellie. Straight up. She would have killed Ellie. If Liv hadn't have been there, I think she would have just went on and took Ellie out. But Liv was also the person that decided to give forgiveness. And
Ellie, or I think she would have killed. You think she would have killed Ellie? I thought she would have killed Dina.
No,
she would have. Sure.
Abby would have killed Ellie because Liv shot an arrow to wound Dina. Dina was out of the question. It was Abby was on top of Ellie, and it was kind of like, okay, I'm about to kill all of you guys. Like, it doesn't even matter. And I think that if she hadn't have said something, I think that definitely would have both died. In all honesty, I think she would have killed Dina, and I think she would have killed Ellie.
I definitely think what we were hoping for at the end at the boats would have happened in the movie theater ahead of time, and one of them would have died. I wasn't sure if it would be Ellie or Abby, because remember, Abby, Lev wounded Dina.
Yeah.
And Abby was over Dina with the knife at her neck, and Ellie was like, please stop, she's pregnant. And Abby was like, good, because Abby remembered that Ellie killed
Mel.
Owen's pregnant. Owen killed Mel, who was pregnant. Although, of course, she didn't know. Ellie didn't know she was pregnant. She thought she was just wearing a big coat.
Yeah.
But the thing was, when Abby then looked at Lev, and Lev looked at her like, yo, you really about to kill a pregnant chick? You know, that's like kind of like the ultimate violation you can do woman on woman, like kill a woman that's pregnant bearing a child. You know, that's what made her stop. Now, I think, though, if Abby had gone through with it.
Oh, yeah, she would have died. Justifiably.
Dina would have died, yes. I don't know if Ellie would, because you got to remember, this whole thing has been Ellie chasing down Abby for killing someone, even though they were disassociated. You know, she felt as her pseudo father. So now you've taken out the person she considered to be a father, as much as she disappointed him.
Yeah.
She was disappointed in him. But then you take out the person she loves after, don't get me wrong, after shooting the girlfriend's son's, the child's father in the face moments before. I think Ellie would have gotten supercharged. I think Ellie would have found a way to kill her. I don't think Abby would have made it out, because at this point, you have truly taken, except for the guitar, but you have truly taken everything from Ellie. So I don't know if Ellie would have died in that moment. If she did, it would be because in her anger she made a mistake. But I think because of how she felt about Dina, and because she was pregnant, and because she just saw the baby's father literally got shot in the face moments before, I think Ellie would have found a way and taken out Abby for that.
I think I disagree. I think that with Ellie, what is it called?
Discombobulated.
Yeah. She had her arm.
She was out of sorts.
Her arm was broken.
She was out of sorts.
She was bleeding to death. She was concussed. She got the suit knocked out of her. And I think that if I was Ellie, I would say, I will kill everyone. And I will definitely kill you. Just wait for it. And at that moment, Abby would have to make two choices. Do I redo this again? Or do I kill this girl? Regardless of what Liv says, I think that Abby would have had to kill. Like, because I wouldn't imagine Ellie sitting there watching that and not saying anything. I can imagine Ellie saying some choice words like, you better pray I die. Like for real. And so,
well, that's kind of what she said when she killed Joel too.
Off of that, I think that Abby would have had to make that choice. Either way, I'm just saying that at the end of the day, And
Yeah.
I'm not justifying it. Abby technically didn't kill anybody innocent. So I'm just,
Mm,
I'm just.
I I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
So
I
when I
think
mean
Abby
when I say
has her.
innocent, somebody that doesn't have a gun, that's not trying to shoot, that's not trying to, defend their territory.
Well then in that particular perspective, nobody's innocent. Because you got to remember, even Dina, knowing she's pregnant, went out there, and Mel, knowing she's pregnant, still working with Owen,
No,
still still dealing with their
Mel.
territory.
No.
Like I
Mel didn't
understand
have
what
a
you're saying from a
weapon.
story perspective, but when they all made that decision to join whatever faction they joined and
Yeah,
go out there doing patrols and go out there, you know,
yeah,
and holding a weapon and doing whatever, they
yeah,
committed themselves to that life. And you have to remember the people that Ellie were going for, even though she didn't know Mel and them was pregnant, she was going after the people that were responsible for killing Joel. Abby being the last of them, no pun intended. But at the end, it's kind of like a Kill Bill story. Abby was her Bill, and everyone else was the five deadly vipers. She went after all of them because
yeah.
none of them were innocent. Not even the dude that was with Abby that spit on Joel after she killed him. None of them were innocent because none of them stopped it from happening. They all played a role in it. So as far as she was concerned, she was marking them off her list.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that she didn't want to kill Nora. She didn't want to kill Mel. She maybe wanted to kill Owen, but she still did it. What I'm saying is that those were not deaths associated to a casualty of war or circumstance. Like she didn't have to kill Nora, and she didn't have to kill Mel. She honestly didn't have to kill Owen. I'm saying that those three deaths are not. Those are not what I call like clean deaths based on the circumstance, regardless of faction or not. Like they were unarmed people. Like I don't
At,
know.
at the
I
end
don't know.
at
It's
the end of
hard.
the day, you have to ask yourself, who is the worst, the criminal or the people that neglected to do something about the crime, although they knew it was happening? Like, you have
It's
to understand, they all went there. Now, they all had their own agenda, like you said, though, about Joel, because Joel basically took down the infrastructure of the Fireflies.
he did.
Yes. So they all really wanted Joel. Every single one of them that were there wanted Joel. However, they all went for different reasons. And Abby was just the one that did the killing blow. So
Yeah.
they all wanted Joel. So to me, none of them are innocent because I believe every single one of them had Abby said, "Hey, I can't do it. Somebody do it for the Fireflies." Any one of them could have possibly done it
I don't
because
think.
they
See,
all
I don't
they
think that
all
Mel.
had they all had skin in the game on that one.
I don't think that Mel had it in her to do it though, because Mel was one of those ones. She actually put a tourniquet around Joe's shotgun wound, kept him alive, and she was kind of one of those ones that after it happened, she had an altercation with Abby later on, and I didn't understand it until I really thought about it. Like I was like, oh wait, this took place after Joel was dead. She looks
Mhm.
at it like, yo, you're no good for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, granted, she was there, but what was she gonna do? Like, I don't see Mel being like, yeah, nah. She just dips at it. Like, she wasn't trying to be a part of it.
She wasn't. And here's the thing: as a trained medical professional, for that game, Mel did what she instinctively was going to do. She put the tourniquet on Joel's leg. But at the same time, if she's really committed to the whole concept of do no harm, that also means preventing it from happening. So my thing is this: let's be real. She was pregnant then. She was pregnant then. If she had stood in the way of that happening, I don't see Abby doing what she would have done. If she had said, look, you shot him in the leg. he's not going to be the same again at any point. You know, tell him, because at the end of the day, too, I'd have been like, tell him who you are, tell him what that was for, and let it be. Like, and just look, my name is Abby. You killed, look, Princess Bride style. My name is Abby. You killed my father. You know, you could say prepare to die or not or whatever, but my thing is nobody in that room in that moment, in my opinion, was innocent except for Ellie in that room in that moment.
Yeah, I can agree to that. But I'm just saying that I don't think anybody in that room could have convinced Abby not to do what she did. I just don't.
I don't
I
think
don't.
any of them were going to, with the exception of Mel, like you said,
Yeah.
because they all wanted Joel for the Fireflies.
Yeah.
So it's not a fact that any of them couldn't have, because let's be real, as big and brolic as Abby is, if they all decided to hold her down, they could have stopped her from doing it. However,
I don't know. She
yes,
got some guns, bro.
she does have guns. She does have some guns. I can't.
She like,
I mean, yeah, she's got it. She's got it. But how many times have we seen her get captured in this game,
She
regardless of
has.
them guns?
She
So I
has.
think they could have stopped her. But the thing was, I don't think it's not that any of them couldn't have convinced her. None of them wanted to. They
Yeah.
were there because even when she brought Joel and Tommy to them. They even said, "Yo, it was a sheer stroke of luck,"
Yeah,
because
it was.
they were trying to infiltrate Jackson to get Joel, and it just so happened Joel came to her.
Yeah.
So they had no, they made it made their job easy. They had no intention of stopping her.
Yeah.
They were going to let her get her rocks off, beating him up for what he did to her father. And at the end of the day, somebody was gonna kill him, whether it be
So
a bullet to the head or what have you. No one was
so
going to stop.
so I guess this is a bigger question for you then, circling back to that. And we haven't even gotten into like the things that kind of scared us and things that we didn't like and stuff like that. But
No, we
when you
haven't.
think about the end, right? And going off of what you just said, right? Ellie
Hmm.
made the choice of letting Abby live. Now, let's take the scenario and let's flip it. You got Tommy, you got Jesse, you got Dina, and maybe you have Tommy's wife all there, and Ellie's kidnapped Abby. And maybe Liv is to the side begging them, stop. Do you think that Dina could have convinced um, Ellie to stop killing Abby? Considering she did stop of her own fruition, do you think that
Hmm.
Dina could have convinced her, like, yo, I know she killed Joel, but please let this go? Do you think that she would? Do you think she would have made the same exact choice again? I have an answer, but I'm curious what your perspective is.
Even my thought is based on what your scenario, what you just said. Even if Dina, even if Dina could have convinced Ellie to not do it, Tommy was there. Tommy would have done it because the only reason Tommy hadn't done it is
He
because
couldn't
he's just
physically.
incapable of
Yeah.
doing it.
Yep.
So
It's true.
he has to find a way to get his vengeance vicariously through someone.
Yeah.
And for him, that was Ellie because he threw salt in that wound and said, "What happened to you're gonna make them pay."
Yeah.
That's what it was. Like basically, someone killed my brother, and they're still walking this earth with every single breath. That's unfair.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, I honestly believe two things would have happened. Ellie may not have been convinced and killed Abby, or Dina could have convinced Ellie, and then Tommy would have killed Abby. But at the end of the day, Abby's dead.
Yeah.
Abby is cold dead.
If Tommy was there, I don't think that Ellie could have stopped Tommy from killing. And I don't think she could bring it upon herself to stop him from doing it either. I think that the
Yeah,
scenario, it had to be this intimate one scenario that had to end up the way that it did. Because if Tommy was there at the end of the day, he would have killed Liv and Abby. without question.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't even hesitate it. Like, so I think that going and circling that back, it only could have ended the way that it actually did, which probably means why, you know, we had these different close encounters where it went back and forth each time, which a lot of people are really upset about and perplexed about. I get it. Like, I mean, bro, we put some man hours in getting to that point.
Yep.
When we got to the point of the theater, I was like, daggone, well, this is the end. Like, man, Naughty Dog just gonna make us sit there and just accept this daggone mess. Like, then Tommy came around, and I was like, Tommy, Ninja, did you just say that to me? What? Like,
exactly. But Tommy, at that point, remember, this is all about dealing with loss. Yep. And not just loss of a loved one, but when you've lost everything. Because remember, he lost his wife because he said they were taking a break. He lost his brother. He went out there hunting to get his brother, ended up losing an eye.
Yep.
You know, like at the end of the day, what happens here is all these, you put these four people, actually, you put everybody together, really. You can put Ellie, Joel, Tommy, Abby, Lev, Jesse. You can put all these people together, and at some particular aspect of it, even Owen and Mel, at some particular aspect of it, they lose everything.
Yep.
And how do you deal with losing everything?
Yeah.
And the last person to lose everything was Ellie, because now Ellie doesn't have anything or anyone. And going back to what you said based off Left Behind, she now has to live her worst fear, which I believe there's a reason for that, but we'll get to that in when we talk theories for part 3. But what scared us?
Yeah,
Go with that we need to touch.
Yeah, I'm because I played through it all. Like, I was pretty much anxiety ridden most of the time. Like, I was terrified when I heard Joel screaming, and I knew I wanted to go and try to save him. I was terrified when I was strung up by the neck with Abby in the pitch black. I was definitely terrified when I didn't know what had happened to Dina. I was like, bruh, like, where is Dina? Like, it was just this weird feeling of like concern and worry. Like, I just didn't know where she actually was, and I didn't know if she was gonna survive. And then, this is one of the first encounters when Ellie was out on her own, and she was just kind of like going, and she ended up interacting with the militia of the wolves, and like they were all over me. Like, it was nothing. I didn't have any ammo. I didn't have anything. Like, I was in a firefight for life, and I was running and I was running and I was running, and then all of a sudden I got grabbed, and like it was Jesse. And like I was like, thank you, Jesus. I'm glad to see you, Jesse. And Jesse was a real one. Like, he really did protect me. But I think that the most scariest thing that definitely happened is, I'm gonna let Ty tell it, is the hospital. When we got to the hospital, that joint was like going through Dante's Inferno. Like, it just got worse and worse.
Stay out my head unless you're paying rent, man. That hospital, oh my God. But here's the funny thing. So here's the thing. I mean, they literally take you all the way to the top of this hospital. Like, you're crossing a skyscraper. You're going across some metal poles. Like, if you slip wrong, it's a wrap. Then you got to you've got to go all the way down to the bottom of this thing. And to get these medical supplies, you are literally fighting what I believe is like the ground zero monster of all the other infected. Yep. Like, all the other infected have literally separated from this one monster, because it's like fighting a 2-layered, multi-headed, hand-fingered limb kind of blob thing that's just coming at you, growling and scaring the living ish out of you. Because I'm watching it, and it's scaring me. Like I'm playing through it now, and I'm literally like, I honestly, nothing else. The storyline is it still gets me, but playing the game, I'm all like, all this is leading up to Dante's Inferno right here, and I mean this thing, like and this is what I mean. Why I say this is one of the few games where if you're playing it or you're watching it, you don't feel any different because while he's playing it and I'm watching it, I am literally fearing for his life. Like Sam is actually in danger, knowing it's a video game. And I'm like, yo, Sam, don't. I said, run, dude. And I'm sitting here thinking, yo, I'm going to have to go tell Sam's parents that he didn't make it out the hospital. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's a game, but it's literally got you by the shirt, like you're coming on this story with me. Yeah. And there's no game. Uncharted didn't even make me feel that way. No. I'm literally watching it like, yo, Sam, you got to get out of there, man. That was the theme for the whole playthrough, all 8 days. Yo, we got to get out of here. Like,
yeah, it's real.
That's real. But here's the funny thing. As much as it made me cringe and it made me fearful, at the end of it all, it made me upset. Like that particular engagement with a monster pissed me off. Not for the scene, but after doing all of that, after fighting that thing and killing it off with Abby, who's not immune. Like Ellie has a better shot, but Abby is not immune. Yep. All of that to save Yara, and at the end, Yara dies anyway. That pissed me off. Yeah. Like you get a few more, you maybe an hour, maybe another hour and a half or so, maybe something like that with Yara, and boom, just like that, Yara's gone. I'm like, what? And I have to say, that's the only thing. Like I would literally give this game 10 out of 10. But if I had any reason to give it a 9, it was for that. It was for putting us through that crazed, horrific, emotional roller coaster to save someone's life, only for them to die like 45 minutes to an hour and a half later. That pissed me off.
And it was bad. It was kind of like the circumstance behind it. It was kind of like the only reason why, because they initially had a plan of going to Cali based on Owen's plan or whatever, but Liv was like, no, I gotta go protect my mom, like I need to go get her. And like Yara was like, yo, my sister's crazy, like can we go get her? I don't know where she's at. And like it technically was on Liv, man. Like if Liv hadn't have left, Yara would have stayed alive at the end of the day. Yeah. But I can't fault Liv for wanting to go back for her mom, but based on the fact she ended up having to kill her mom, like...
Right, that's a whole other thing. Like, now we going to save this chick, she ends up killing her mom. But you see, that's why... But you see, here's the thing. That brings me back to our other conversation, Sam, about who's innocent and who's not. Nobody's innocent because they all made choices. Lev chose to go back to her mom, killing her mom. Yara chose to save Abby, lost an arm. Abby chose to save Yara. Yara dies any dang way. Ellie, decides to go after Abby, gets her whole tail beat, then decides to leave Dina to try it again because of some crap Tommy said. Like,
and loses her fingers.
Everybody and loses her fingers. Everybody, she became, Antonio Banderas Desperado El Mariachi can't play anymore. Like, but the point is, everybody made a choice. Yep. Everybody made a choice. So my thing is, nobody's innocent because they've all made a choice to do this. But yeah, that scared that and every scene you had to go search for something, and all you had was your flashlight, like it was Silent Hill, and I'm just waiting. Oh, we're missing one.
This one, the flashback joint with Joel?
No. We're missing one of my scariest moments, although Dante's is number 1. Number 2 for me was when Abby was squeezing through that narrow spot and rolls right up on I think it's a shambler, the ones that you can't hear,
Oh,
and then you got to
yeah.
squeeze your way back out while it's chasing you. Bam. That was my dude. Outside of Dante's Inferno in the hospital, that's number two for me, side. Because you're going through, and I'm like, okay, okay. And then it was like, hey, it's me. Here's Johnny. Oh, wait, I got, and you can't run. You just squeezing your way back out. I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
I
like
was like, oh, gotta
it
go, gotta go, gotta go.
really threw me how much this game was not cutscene. Like normally, like the Metal Gear series, you see like hours worth of cutscenes. None of this was cutscenes. I'm sitting there just playing for my life. There's one
Right.
scene that one thing I do want to talk about is the flashbacks, but this is a good segue for that. Is that there was a moment where Ellie was with Joel or whatever, and they were going through this hotel. And in the hotel, all of a sudden, like, we see this acid boomer that we ain't never seen before. And he starts, charging Joel. Joel's like, yo, stay out of it, get for cover. And, of course, I'm going to help out Joel, you know what I'm saying? That's basically my dad, And I'm sitting there shooting at this thing, and I'm like, wait, it's not going down. I was like, all right, shoot, I'm going to hit him with two Molotovs. Two Molotovs. Ty was like, wait, what's going on? I was, because his internet was going back and forth at the time, and I was like, it ain't going down, Ty. Like, I put two Molotovs on it. This thing rolled up on me. I didn't have no other ammo. It grabbed me by the head, and I was like, I'm done. I was terrified. And all of a sudden, Joe comes out of nowhere, gets it off my head, and starts to pound this thing, and I was like, yo, this thing was on fire and had my head. I wish I had a screen cap of that. Like, for real, that was the scariest joint out of nowhere. But one of the things that I loved about this game that some people have a lot of critiques about is how many flashbacks it is. It is a lot of flashbacks. This is not a linear storyline, and I think it does deflect from the pacing in terms of the normal linear storyline and how things are going to progress. But it's for a reason. Every single flashback really goes back and symbolizes the way the person's rationale to their consequences they're in at the present moment. And of course, it started off with Abby. We talked about that. And the thing about Abby with her flashbacks, some of them turn into dreams that were haunting her. The moment of when her dad died, like, it was legit something that she would go and re-see in her dreams, and it was haunting her. But there were still so many beautiful... I feel like almost all the flashbacks had beautiful moments in them that I was kind of like, this is truly amazing. The thing about the flashbacks for it... I think something happened with Ty. The thing about the flashbacks for it is that I loved is... when it came to like a flashback with Joel, for instance, Joel and Ellie went to this one museum location, and at the museum, Joel wanted to kind of show her something, and I was kind of like, what is he trying to show her? And you get there to the museum, and like it's a dinosaur museum, and like it's interactive. You can put hats on, you can go and interact. And, like, one of the first things I did just to piss off Joe is I got up to the top of, like, this T-Rex, and I just jumped off into the water just to spite him. But he wanted to take me to the Air Space Museum section, and he wanted to show me something I really love, which was, like, a ship, like aircraft. And got into it, and he put some headphones in my ears and allowed me to experience getting off planet. And I thought that was one of the most beautiful moments ever, just as much as one of the last moments I had with Joe. Every single moment of flashbacks with Joe, as hard as it was to see him as cringeworthy sometimes as it was, every single moment mattered that I actually had flashbacks with Joe. When it came to the different moments and sections of time, one of the things I think a lot of people didn't get is that if you go back to where Ellie was going through, she led up to day 1 in Seattle all the way to day 3. And then they go back and lead you through day 1 through 3 for Abby to see what's happening on the backside of it. When you were going through the things that was going on with Abby on the backside of it, you were getting to see that all the different people that Ellie had ran through or killed, you know, in the beginning, you get to see these different people's names. Like, even when you at the wolf camp, I was like, yo, I remember that person's name. Like, I killed him. Like, I was like, one thing about this game is that they make you feel so bad. Because unlike other games, you know, you kill an NPC, like, you know, you did what you had to do. But every single person that you kill or interact with has a name, has a character, and the NPCs interact with that. It might be somebody's like, yo, there's George back there. Is George okay? Oh my God, George is dead. Oh no. Sound the alarms, like whatever. Like, and they make you really start to care. Up until the point when, you know, Yar died and I lost all sense of emotion. I was ready to kill everybody. But I'm saying, like, it turned me into like a lethal killing machine. But the funny thing is, by the
end when Yara died,
but by the end of the game, one thing I didn't say is that when Ellie got to even before that, when we got to Abby and Liv on, you know, the Santa Monica location, and they started hearing rumblings about the Fireflies and like 200 strong on this island, I was like, yo, what is about to happen here? Like, I was like, is this what I've been fighting for this whole entire time? Like, is there something coming on the outside of this? And I guess this is a good segue into where the theories of where things are going to go. But when we got there, I was like, okay, cool. Then this whole other group goes and kidnaps them. And then I was like, all right, now I'm Ellie, okay. When I finally get to see Abby and where she was at, after I went through hell and back, I went through a Firefly that wore me out. I didn't have any more feelings of needing to kill anybody. By the end of that Firefly, I was like, I'm done. I've got it out my system. I'm heartless enough. Just for Naughty Dog to be like, okay, yeah, bet. Like, do you have enough in you for one more bullet? And like, I see Abby up there strung up on the cross, basically, like in the beach, like a pale reflection of herself. And I was like, I told Ty, I was like, Ty, bruh, I don't think I can do this. Like, I literally said to him, I was like, when they started to fight, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't have no parts of this fight. Like, this is enough. End this, dead this thing. And I think that most people that probably finished this game probably didn't want. I mean, some of you guys are kind of said like, yo, she should have just killed her. I get that. But by the end of it, when I go through all of it and I play through all that, like, I was like, that's not what I wanted, bro. Like, I'm done with this. Like, this needs to stop. Like, this cycle of violence needs to stop. Like, these circumstances need to be deaded. You know what I'm saying? And I think that out of all those different emotions that I was having, like, went from excitement to dread to vengeance to survival to need the preservation of life for, like, different people to then understanding those people died, were ripped from me, to getting angry, to then just, like, at the end of the day, I was like, all I got is nothing. I have to let this go. I literally emotively let a lot of stuff go. And I love that. Like, it was like a feeling of release by the end of the game. Like, I think some people kind of like at the end of the game were like, oh, I finally finished this foolishness that made me feel depression and all this kind of stuff. But for me, I felt like relief from all the emotions that I let out. Like, they were done. Like, at the end of the game, I was really done with understanding how I really felt. But. So
two quick things, because I know we're about to go into our thoughts of what could be for the next game. But two quick things. Jumping in on the whole thing of the cut of the flashbacks with Joel. This is part of the reason why I think Joel's death was necessary. Because you can't sit there and say those emotions, those flashbacks wouldn't have hit you as hard if Joel was alive. If Joel was alive, those scenes, as great as they are, would not have had the impact they had if Joel was still alive. That's why they got rid of Joel early.
Yeah.
And even when we saw that, and here's the thing, we saw that. We got to where Ellie is at Joel's tombstone, and we were done. We were like, okay, day one is done for the night. Like we
Yeah,
just
no, we
it's just
literally did
too
stop. Yeah.
way way too much. So um so there's that. Like it wouldn't have had the same impact. Plus, I knew they weren't going to just have Troy Baker come in to do Joel for just that one particular scene and not bring him into other pieces of the storyline. That didn't make any sense. So I knew there were going to be flashbacks. But the other piece, though, what I notice is that, like, we say a lot of things like, yo, we want this to be done. We don't want Ellie to kill Abby. We don't want Ellie to leave the farm. We just want, we just want this to be over. We want this cycle to be done. Just let it be what it is. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing about it is it couldn't happen any other way. Because if you think about it, if Ellie hadn't been consumed or reconsumed by that vengeance to go after Abby and Levy would have been dead at the rat base. They would have died. There was and if Abby hadn't been so consumed to go after the folks that killed her friends, she probably would have never ran into, or going after Joel, she would have never ran into Levy and Yara, would not have been able to save them, would not have gone through everything to go to save Yara and then lose Yara, and would not have Lev as her pseudo Ellie,
Yeah.
and would have not gone through. Because if you noticed, like you said, she was a diminished version of herself. Yeah. But if you looked at Abby closely, she had some features to me that were related to Joel. Her hair was darker. She had lost some of that build. She was still tall and she still had strength like Joel, but she had lost some of that build. So in a way, it's kind of like if you squint your eyes a little bit and just blur out that whole thing, it was really Ellie fighting Joel. Mm. And I think once she overcome Abby, it was kind of like she, I guess, come to terms with everything that happened with Joel. Yeah. And that's what I find so interesting about this game is they've made it so interwoven that you have to press on. Yeah. Because now that you know what happens, you know that if Ellie hadn't done what she did, Abby wouldn't have been alive. In fact, the funny thing is, had Ellie stayed her behind at that farm, she would not have known it, but she would have gotten everything she wanted.
Yep.
Basically, if Tommy hadn't come up there with that mess, she could have stayed there. Abby would have died. Lev would have died. Justice would have occurred in its own poetic way. Yeah. But because she wanted to interfere and she couldn't let it go. That's why they tell you if you want to make God laugh, tell him you have a plan. Like everything was set up. Everything was set up, and everybody would have gotten their just desserts. And Ellie would have come out on top. She would have gotten what she gotten. She would have gotten what she might not have known it, but when she let all that go, it was like when she let all that go. The funny thing is, when Abby told her, "Don't ever let me see you again," and Ellie, for that longest time, although she was dealing with PTSD, she let it go. It was kind of like God saying, "All right, you're done. Vengeance is mine anyway. I got this. Let me deal with this." She was all set up to die. She was set up to die. She was this close to getting what she wanted. The only thing she wanted after getting Joel was getting back to the Fireflies, hearing that the fire, and what kind of perfect setup for vengeance would that be? You take someone out, you take the vengeance that's not yours, you're given this nice little hanging fruit of, hey, the fireflies are still around. Come get to them. And just as you're that close, like you've communicated and talked with them, you get captured and tortured, and you're about to die. Wrapped up in a nice little bow. Thank you very much. But what happens? People get in the way of stuff. People are so caught up in themselves that they miss it out. You know, it's like, look,
Yeah.
I'm giving you your out. I'm giving you your happy ending right here. You got this nice gated farm. You know, it seems to be set up that even if the infected did try to come get you, it wouldn't work.
Yep.
You're raising a kid with the person you love. You know, you're basically doing what you do, and you let one person's little comment eat away at you.
Yeah.
For what? For what?
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
taking it like that is really, whew, that's harsh, because if she would have stayed, she would have been good. And the even crazier thing is that when you remember she got stabbed, she was bleeding to death or whatever. When she found Abby crossed up, all she had to do was really just leave her up there. She could have just left her up there. Like, she wouldn't have had no knowledge that Liv was still alive. She wouldn't have known, period. It would have been on the circumstance. She could have just legit dipped. But if she hadn't have got Abby down, she wouldn't have known where the boats were. She didn't have any kind of ammo or energy to fight off anybody else. And if she would have killed Abby, pretty much the group that was there would have probably, you know, I mean, I don't know. I think the group would have let Ellie go because Ellie got them out. So, I don't know. Either way, it is a very bad circumstance of events that Ellie really should have just let it go. And she would have been better off.
She somehow didn't have the energy to go up the step where the pillars were, but she found the energy once she got over it to fight Abby.
And she went Super Saiyan level 2.
That didn't make any sense. Like I'm sitting there watching you go through this gauntlet. And the other piece is I really think that gauntlet was only a gauntlet because it kept recycling people to come after you. So that's why after a while, I was thinking, Sam, I think you're supposed to go forward in this. Because I think if you don't, they're just going to keep bringing people up to fight you. It's never going to go down.
Yeah,
so,
I found that out the hard way, y'all.
Yeah. But the thing for me was you used every single tactic you could have used. Like, you even let the chained up infected stay where they were.
Yeah.
Because you were using them kind of as bait, and I get that. But at the end, this chick is hurt. She is literally grabbing her side. She finds a way to the pillars, brings down Abby. Abby brings down Levy. She's taking her out there, even after she can't even climb up the little sand step, but she finds a way over it. And even she's ready to go. She's calling it a day. She finds no energy at all. She's literally just trying to probably get in the boat, pull this motor and leave, but finds the energy miraculously to put a knife to Levy's head and we gonna fight about this? Like, and then is it even really a fair fight? Because remember, Abby is like half the chick she was at this point. Like, this chick has been starved. Her hair isn't even blonde anymore. It's like dark. She's like a female Joel at this point. And you still want to have this fight?
I mean,
and I get it. I get why. But
it's like it goes back to the same circumstance. Like, Joel didn't have the opportunity to have a fair fight either.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Joel got
true.
his whole leg blown off. He was basically kind of tortured by Abby. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, like, we're gonna gun this out, or like, I'm gonna untie him. Like, let me just beat the crap out of him. Like, nah, it wasn't fair. It wasn't meant to be fair. It was meant to, to be torturous. Now, I think realistically, I don't think that Ellie would have had the energy to do what she did, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying, I think that my negatives in this game were more so seated on like the circumstances, kind of like what Ty said. Like there were certain circumstances that I was like, bruh, do y'all know what this just did to me emotionally? Like was this like did this have to happen?
Like was it necessary?
Like it was just happening to the characters. It was happening to me. Like I was like, this joint is happening to me, bro. And I think that I can see where some people could take out of context if they weren't like critics and looking at it from a like, you know, a different set of eyes. Like yo, like man, this dude was just trying to make me feel depressed. He was trying to make me feel this or that. Like that's what his goal was. And I think that there's certain moments you feel that way, and I think that it's justified in feeling that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that if you focus in on that, or focus in on like not giving a care about, you know, what's surrounding Abby or everything outside of the world of Ellie or Joel, you're doing yourself a disservice to seeing something that's really magnificent in its formation as a story, as a gameplay, as an experience. As much as I say, you know, the story itself is non-linear, the experience of what's happening is so riveting that I can't critically critique that in a negative way, in my personal opinion. And even more engaging, I think this is the last segue we can go into because it's getting late. I think we're almost at the 2-hour mark at this point. Is that if you really paid attention to when Abby and Liv got to California and they were talking on the radio call, you understood that there was 200 fireflies deep, you know, at a dome location on this uncharted island where they were protected and growing by the day from what the person said, and they were invited to that location. I mean, we don't really know if that was true or not, but we do know at the end of the game, you see this boat, you see it on an island, and you see this huge dome. And I was like, so this entire time, like, we're going and progressing through with this character, Abby, for a reason. There's a reason behind it. And I think that they've already mapped out what story they have to tell. And I'm curious to see what Ty's theory is on where Ellie plays into it. Because I think we're on the same page with that, but I'm just curious.
So I had one more question before going into the segue, but I'll ask that question later. I'll save that for the end. But going into our thoughts or theories about part 3.
Yeah.
which is why I think the game had to go the way it went, where Ellie just loses everything. I go back to that last scene she had with Joel after the dance, where she goes and talks to him, where he says, you know, if I could do it all over again, I would. You know, she basically expresses that he took away that choice from her and that her life could have meant something. That's what I believe is going to happen in part 3. I think because she's lost everything and she has basically nothing and no one, I think for her, the only thing she has left is to finish off what was supposed to happen in part 1, which was a quest to get to the Fireflies and find someone to extract what they need to create a cure for the planet. Now, there are 2 parts of this that bug me. One is it would make a perfect storyline setup, because I think in some way, shape, or form, she's going to try to make her way there. And she's going to end up running into Abby again.
Yep.
And Abby and Lev are going to try to help her get to Catalina. Because remember, Ellie did tell her in the movie theater that she knows she was after Joel, and she know that it's about what happened at the hospital. And Joel tried to save me and that she was the cure. So who's to say Abby didn't take that to the Fireflies, saying, hey, that girl is still alive. She's now 4 or 5 or whatever years older, and she's still immune, kind of thing.
Yep.
There's that piece. The other piece, though, that kind of gets me is um, when people have a potential, they say, the way to wealth is you find a need, and you find a need and you fill that hole. The two things that we have always done as human beings with anything that we have developed is learn how it's beneficial to us and then weaponize it. So there is the possibility or theory in terms of Ellie sacrificing herself. The Fireflies get this cure, and then they just abuse it. Like they only give it to their faction, meaning their faction is now all immune, which means they can market it off, trade for it, or basically run the planet because they're the only people that have that, that immunization, that vaccine. And it's kind of like what was said in Ant-Man, whoever holds the power, whoever holds the energy to power the most powerful thing in the world becomes the most powerful person in the world. Paraphrasing. So, but my overall theory, umbrella theory, is that now that Ellie has nothing at all, no Dina, no JJ, no Joel, no revenge, no vengeance, the only thing she has left is that cure, or her immunity. And that I think she's going to find a way to get there to the Fireflies and try to have them or have someone extract that vaccine, develop a vaccine from her blood. And if for nothing else, it gives a future for JJ, because she's in love with Dina. It gives a brighter future for Dina and for JJ and possibly the rest of the world once you can take care of all the infected and everything else. So that's my theory.
Yeah. I'm definitely on the same lines. I think that the biggest thing that I thought about is that they introduced a lot of different factions in this one. I mean, of course, you got the wolves, yes, but you got like the Seraphites, the Scars, the place called Haven, the group that intercepted Abby and Liv.
The Rattler.
Yeah.
The Rattler.
You got the other group. What's it called? Start with the F. Ferda. Fida.
Oh, the Furba. This is like the Federales. I call them the Federales, the Furba. Those are the folks that got killed off.
And one of the things I thought was the most fascinating was that the prophet or whatnot that the Scars were worshiping, the woman, you never actually saw her. She never made an actual appearance. You saw statues of her. You saw pictures of her. You saw letters from her that she was actually a part of the original Wolves, original Fireflies at that. And so why did we never see her? Why did she never actually show up?
At one point, I thought it was Lev's mother.
That's what we were thinking. But
but it wasn't. But that wasn't the case.
So you don't have that much build up, and you remember you saw murals of this person all over the place, even more so than we had of like the Fireflies in the first game, which leads me to believe that she will have a very big presence in the third one, and I think that it will go down the lines like you said that Fireflies will be there. But there's always another opposition. There's always somebody that's trying to get what you want. And either one wants what you got or wants to get what you got and change it for their betterment or for their profit. And as much as, the infected in this one were scary, bro. Like, The gameplay in this one, what they used in Infected, was probably some of the best. It was on that next level kind of Silent Hill to, Resident Evil. Like it was dark. It was really scary and visceral, but the human element was even more fascinating to me because when the scars first showed up, I was like, Ty, what's that whispering, bro? Like, I hear somebody whispering and whistling. And, like, Ty was like, no, they're trying to call you out. I was like, really? All of a sudden, I get an arrow in my chest, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm terrified right now. Like, I was like, where they at, bro? So, I think that we're definitely going to get a lot of that. I think that Ellie is going to be in a position where they're going to need her. Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, even though Abby let her go, even though, certain circumstances happened of Abby, leaving with Liv and Ellie letting her go, the world needs Ellie. And there's only 2 people now, well, technically 3 people that know the truth. That's Dina, who's with Jackson, I'm assuming.
Right.
Abby.
With Jesse and Jackson, yeah.
Who's now with the Fireflies, and then Tommy, who claimed that he would take it to the grave, but we don't know what kind of headspace Tommy's in now because Ellie didn't do what she said she was going to do. And I could see Tommy, honestly, bro, there was a moment where Tommy was with the sniper rifle picking folks off. I was like, yo, Tommy is evil, bro. Like, low-key, like, I was like, I would be terrified to go up against Tommy. Like, being on the other side of it, like, I was terrified. I was like, what if he went down a darker path at this point? So, if he did...
If I had to guess anything, I think at some point, Tommy's going to be the one to take Abby out.
You said Ellie or Abby?
No, Abby.
Oh, okay.
I think Tommy is going to take Abby out. Tommy is going to have a serious beef with Ellie, even though she lost everything, Dina and everything, off of what Tommy did. But Tommy is going to try again to kill Abby. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a focus of who killed who, but we, the players, have seen the story from the outside in. So we understand what led everybody to these feelings and issues and whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think while they're going on, I think our theories are kind of aligned, where Ellie's thing is just to get this cure out and save the world.
Yeah.
And people are going to try to impede on that and prevent that from happening, because it may impede on their success that they may be dealing with as a faction within this new pandemic environment. And Abby, in some way, shape, or form, whether it be reluctantly or just by, the fact that they've been through this trial by fire, is going to try to get Ellie to the Fireflies for this cure, like Joel did in the first one. And Tommy is going to try to take her out because no matter what happens, she still killed his brother. And that can't pass. Yeah. That can't pass. I can only imagine the only thing I can know for sure is that they're, like you said, they're probably going to do a Last of Us Part 2 remastered for the PS5.
Yeah.
And they're going to if they do a Part 3, it's definitely going to be on PS5. So I do have one question while we have the little time left. Was the sex scene necessary?
No, it was. So, okay, all right. So I'm gonna say this, so people don't get this misconstrued. Right. I don't have a problem with the way that Abby is built. Some people legit are like, pubbing the game with hate because they're like, why is she so masculine? Why is she? Did they just not want like a strong, male character? Like, what are they trying to say on this feminist? Like, all that's BS. Like, it's unnecessary BS that I can't get behind. I actually really did, enjoy who Abby ended up turning out to be. I thought that her build was definitely out there. I've never seen a character like her. But then when you get to understand why she's so big, if you actually cared enough to listen, some people didn't care enough to listen. Like some person I heard, one critic was like, "Yo, I didn't upgrade anything on Abby, and I just rushed through it as much as I could. I could care less about whatever was going on," and that's sad. To me, that's sad. But when it came to the sex scene with Owen, I don't.
Which was
think
the director, by the way.
I don't think that the sex scene needed to be as explicit as it was. I don't think that anything needed to be shown at all. I don't think there was any need for nudity. Like, that was the only nude scene. Like, when they said it was going to be like nudity and mature, I was like, yo, I was worried about like a rape scene or something like that. And like, not that I'm saying I wanted it to be one, but I don't think that if there was going to be an actual sexual encounter moment, I don't think it needed to be as lewd or as out there as it was. I just think it was unnecessary. It's kind of like how the Marvel series on Netflix, every single first season had a sex scene for whatever freaking reason.
That's
for
true.
No good reason.
That's true.
And I was like, it always kind of deflated the show. I was like, is it just a sex season because it's like Netflix? Just like kind of HBO kind of does the same exact thing, or Showtime has the same exact thing.
Right.
I just think it was unnecessary. Not the actual sexual moment. I get it. Like, it was a build up to that. Like, Abby, if I could define the character in the very beginning, she was closed off in her emotions because she didn't do anything but focus in on getting to Joel. Every single moment that Owen was trying to really interact with her and love her and want her to reciprocate that back and be able to care about herself enough to stop, she couldn't.
She wasn't having.
She was fueled with this need to get to Joel, and she forsaked her love for Owen. That's how she got out of that relationship, and she continued to do so. It wasn't until the moment that she really did even eventually kill Joel that she kind of was left with nothing too, because she didn't have Owen. She didn't have really anything, honestly. Like, she had her group, but it was really just she was just a soldier by fortune. And so then when she had a moment to be able to really, save Owen potentially, or save Yara, or save Liv, she jumped at it because she didn't have anything else. You know what I'm saying? That's where this whole revolving door just continues to happen when it comes to this story. But I don't think that the sex scene needed to be as explicit as it needed to be. I think that was unnecessary. And it gave people something to go and jab at, ultimately, which is sad, but I don't think it was necessary. I think the sex scene itself was fine if it happened, but I don't think it needed to be as explicit as it was.
I think it's I agree. I don't think it was necessary, but what it represents for me is the slow decompression of Abby after Joel's death. Like, the simple fact of, okay, he's dead. What am I now? She's literally spent this whole time building herself up physically with that huge muscular structure, all the way to her killing attributes just to get this one person. And she's done it. And it's like, what now? So now you just see her come down this hill where all the stuff she had basically locked off, closed off, and denied herself now open up. And she's basically picking up where she left off. Like, she wants to be, with a group in terms of being a family, with friends. She wants to be with Owen. She wants that love. She wants to live the rest of her life normally, and she realizes all the things that she's missed out on. So when she gets to that point with Owen, like you said, she jumped in to save Owen because it was basically all she had. But I think it wasn't just the fact that it was all she had. It was her picking up on her last quote unquote love interest, even though she's fully aware that Owen is with someone else. But then there's that piece of Owen who is like, there's like unfinished business with him for her as well. So when they have this discussion or this argument, you know, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do? You know, go find the people that killed my parents, torture them, and, you know, beat them with a golf club and all that. It's kind of like they're ripping off all these layers of things that kept them from each other. And once it was all said and done, and they've, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, laid themselves bare, all they had was each other. And mind you, I didn't have an issue with it because they were having such a raw, visceral argument, you know, finally kind of ripping off all these layers of each other. It kind of just makes sense that they would go at each other so raw and visceral because they're literally giving into things that they've built up over the course of years for each other and never, you know, and never indulged in. So it would just make sense that they would just go at each other. Now, I'm not condoning it because my man Owen got Mel over here pregnant with a kid, you know. So I'm like, yo, fam, you did wrong for that. But in the process of understanding, you know, what do you do after the revenge? Because it doesn't really make you feel any better. You still don't have anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's not bringing back your father. You know, you're just you now. You're this muscular person with all these killing attributes that now has nothing because you've achieved your one goal. You know, I mean, hell, even Eric Killmonger knew what he was going to do after he took out Black Panther. You know, even he had a purpose after that. She didn't have anything after that. So you start to see this systemic breakdown. It's kind of like she's done all the stuff at the gym to get what she wants, and then she just kind of slacks off, or she doesn't do it anymore because she doesn't have to. So now it's a matter of you're starting to see that whole systemic breakdown. And where they go at it is where that piece of her is breaking, pulling off all the layers of, I want to be loved by someone. I want to be, you know, quote unquote feminine, because she did get a lot of flack for it, but she wants to be a woman now. She just wants to live her life, you know, realizing that she really can't because the person she wants to do it with has already moved on to someone else, you know, regardless of his indulgence. So I don't think the sex scene was necessary, but I think everything building up to it and the scene itself gives greater context to what Abby is going through after she achieves her goal. So
yeah, I can definitely agree to that from a mental state standpoint. I think it's just, exactly. I mean, I really didn't have a problem with actual sex scene. I think it just was way too explicit. I just didn't need the actual nudity. Like, I was like, y'all could have implied that as much as you want. Anyway, we're gonna move past this. So the last thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna leave you guys with a random update that was left from a PSA from Neil Druckmann, and then we'll give you guys our final, I guess, concluding number reviews, because I don't think I actually gave one. I think I did, but you probably should already know. But the PSA says, the second J in JJ is not Junior. That is all. Resume your regular tweeting.
Oh.
Yeah. So that means I would assume.
Is it Jesse Joel? It's got a nice little twang to it.
Yep.
Jesse Joel.
Yep. And you know, and this is the sad part about that. That means that she left. She got left by. When she left, she chose to leave Jesse Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Dina. And everything. Like, she made that conscientious decision to do that. And I get it. I understand it. But I don't think she should have done it. She probably shouldn't have done it.
Had she not done it, it's funny, had she not done it, she would have gotten everything she wanted just by not doing it. But of course, she wouldn't have known that, but still.
Yeah. But okay, so final number rating on this game. I already know what I gave it. And then we got to close out because it's like 2 hours over, and I got a whole nother screen tomorrow.
Yeah. So, are you want me to go first, or you want to go?
Yeah,
You
go
want to
for it.
go?
You close out with
Okay.
your final thought review
So
number.
so I believe, as I said before, and I'll say it again, this is the PlayStation 4 swan song. If there's any way to go out of a console 7 year series, it is this game. And yeah, I said I could have given it a 9 out of 10 or what have you because of what happened with Yara after fighting that big old monster blob thing. But the truth of the matter is, this is the epitome of a PlayStation 4 game. So if it's out of 10, it's 10. If it's out of 100, it's 100. You know, whatever the number that says this is the quote unquote near perfect game, it's just firing on all cylinders. It's that for me. I give
Yeah.
it the straight 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, 1,000 out of 1,000. You name it, it's all of it. I absolutely loved this game.
Yeah. Um, for me, ditto. All of that is it's one of the best games I've played. Period. Like the gameplay and the visuals alone are probably the best visuals and gameplay I've ever played. Like in a game, like in a third person game like this, like I haven't played anything like this before. Soundtrack score is immaculate. The environments are beautiful. Everything about the world was actually alive at all times, whether the plant life, the animals, the scenery, the emotions. One thing I never talked about is the voice acting, bro. The voice acting in this is probably some of the best since Grand Theft Auto glory days. Like it is amazing voice acting. Troy Baker and your girls, they killed it, bro. Like the voice actress for Abby, she did an amazing job, bro. She did an amazing job, and
Yeah,
every single character, honestly, shined. In they had their moment to really truly shine, not just being fleshed out and layered from a plot standpoint, but they gave the voice actors opportunities to really truly shine through their the motion capture performance as well as their actual vocal performances. And some of you guys,
yeah,
again, if you were not invested in Abby's story, if you were already like emotionally blocked from the leaks and you just really were kind of cut and crippled from certain parts of this game, I can understand why you have issue with the story. Fortunately, I was not. I was not crippled
yeah,
by any moment that I had with Abby. I actually cared to know more. I actually cared to see where this was going to go, the journey behind both Ellie and Abby. I had conflictions when it came to Ellie. I saw different layers of Ellie. Like we in the first game, we knew, what Ellie may be capable of later on. We knew she could be like really dope. But we didn't know the struggles she had with darkness. We didn't know the struggles that she had with her morality. And they bring every part of that out. And one of the biggest things that about the best performances in acting in movies and TV shows is when a character really truly struggles. That's when those awards come out. When they really have those complexes of their morality and what's right and what's wrong, and they make conscientious choices back and forth. That's when you see what really truly shines. And honestly, like she still shines. She still shines one of the greatest characters that were actually created. Um, and as far as the story for me, like I really did enjoy it. It was hard. It was gut wrenching. It took everything out of me. And at the same exact time, gave me something really special to remember, for good or bad. So 10 out of 10 easily for me, you guys. And I would say any of you guys have already played it and gone through it. Just think about some of the perspectives that we brought up today, and I mean, not change your opinion, but just look at it from a different set of eyes. And I'll go into more of this tomorrow. Me, Akasan, D Piddy, Three Black Geeks and a couple others are going to be going more in depth with a lot of this craziness. I don't know their different opinions on what they think about the game, but I really wanted to take time with Ty and have like a more intimate, specific, condensed spoiler review for you guys, because Ty since the beginning has been literally like my right hand man, keeping me from not losing it, going through these 8 or 9 days worth of trials and tribulations through this entire game. So I just want to say I appreciate Ty, and hopefully we can go and do this again, you know what I'm saying, with something else. I know that what's that samurai game that's coming up soon? What's the name of that thing?
Oh, Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, maybe
I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe we should do something with that. But
Yep.
Yeah. That's all I got. We good. We signing out.
Yep.
All right, guys. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. And y'all have a blessed night, blessed day. Peace, guys. Peace.
Peace.